A very good morning to all the esteemed guests, faculty and participants. I welcome you all once again to the YAR on fifth day of the YAR on sustainable urbanism. And the recap from the yesterday one, we have discussed sustainable. We have discussed ecological biocapacity, carbon footprint, sustainable development, and urban in short, as last part of this session. And today we are going to start with sustainable transportation. And now over to Dr. Miriam.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for everyone coming. So when the agenda sheet comes along, put your name on it, okay, everyone? Okay, so today we'll discuss sustainable transportation. And I wonder if you got a chance to see any of the videos about urban sprawl yesterday. Did you get a chance to see any of them? Okay. Any comments or any thoughts from that? Which one did you see, Meenakshi?
I did get the link was not working, but it's not
Okay. So some of these links some of the links are not working? Okay. Okay, they might be restricting it, right? Yeah, okay, I'm so sorry. I should have checked it from here.
And Vegas also I saw half.
Which one?
Vegas.
Vegas you saw half? Okay. Actually, I don't want to open it. I don't want to open it. Oh, okay. So I'll just test the links that I sent you yesterday. If you get a chance on YouTube, Google the Google Phoenix, Phoenix, the story of sprawl, Phoenix. Okay, that's a really good one. Explains things very well. And but it's about 51 minutes long. So Spencer really explains things very well and shows all the different conflicts why sprawl happens. Okay. And I talked, I mentioned about urban growth boundary in Portland, and I wanted to show you the urban growth boundary. Portland is in the northwest part of the U.S. This is the U.S. and Portland is in the northwest part. It's a very good place, but they said they have to conserve all the land area. There's lots of forests, lots of rivers, and they wanted to conserve it, so they put an urban growth boundary. Not for one city, they put an urban growth boundary for a metro area. Because if they put for one city, what will happen is growth within the city will be contained, and some city nearby will start expanding. So they told the people, the state told the people in the urban agglomeration that they have to come with a growth boundary for the entire urban agglomeration, not just for one city. And so it has worked very well in that context. Okay, so greenhouse gas emissions. Which are the greenhouse gases that we have now? Transportation, a lot of gases come from transportation. So I just wanted to have us have a good understanding of what are the greenhouse gas emissions that come generally. So the biggest gas is carbon dioxide, that contributes about 2/3 of all the gas that is there. Most of the carbon dioxide comes from fossil fuels and industrial processes, but some also comes from cutting down trees. And trees also give out some carbon dioxide, right? So about 76, almost 75% of all the carbon dioxide, of all the greenhouse gas emissions is carbon dioxide. Methane comes primarily from landfills and animals. Okay, animals, especially cows and buffaloes, give out, and goats to some extent give out methane. But a lot of the methane comes from landfills. Nitrous oxide comes primarily from agriculture, comes from farming practices. All the chemicals that we put, fertilizers that we put, they give out nitrous oxides. And then the F gases are fluorocarbons. There are different kinds of fluorocarbons that are used in industrial processes, that are used in refrigeration. All of them leak out and they account for about 2%. And their greenhouse effect is very strong. Although they are only 2%, the greenhouse effect of these fluorocarbon gases is very high. Likewise, the greenhouse effect of methane is very, very high because they remain in the atmosphere for a very, very long time. Okay, carbon dioxide, if carbon dioxide remains in the atmosphere for 1 unit of time, methane remains in the atmosphere for 84 units of time. And there was that was on a slide earlier, right? So let's look at how greenhouse gas emissions have changed globally over the last 30-35 years. So in 1992, industrial processes accounted for the largest share of greenhouse gas emissions, and transportation accounted, electric power and agriculture accounted for 20%, 20%. But industrial processes were the biggest. Now I'll show you more recently. I don't have a comparable data set, but so it's more or less, say, categories. There are a few more categories, a few different categories. In 2017, industry accounted for 21%, agriculture became much bigger, and electricity and heat production became the largest. Why did electricity and electrical production become such a big thing between 1990 and 2017? Like in 25 years, why did electricity production increase so much as a global share? Does anyone know?
Electricity was being used. It started getting used more in this.
Yeah, but where more? Because most like Europe already had electricity. More in the developing, particularly which developing countries? China and India. And China, most of the electricity built in China, produced in China. Even though China has a very large hydroelectric power plant, right? The Three Gorges Dam that came online around 20 years ago. In spite of that, their electricity consumption has increased much more than what their hydroelectric is producing. So therefore, they are producing many power plants every day. If you Google it, you'll find that they are making many coal power plants every day. Hello? Oh, you're checking there? Okay, that's fine. No. I thought I was echoing, so.
I was the person.
Okay, no problem. So, transportation accounts for about 1/7 of the total greenhouse, it's about 14%, right? So the transportation is a very significant component of greenhouse gas emissions globally. And if we can reduce transportation greenhouse gas emissions, we'll have a huge positive impact, 14%. If we can reduce it by half, that will have a huge impact. And as urban planners, we might not have much impact on greenhouse gas emissions in the agriculture sector, or in the industrial sector, or in power generation. But as urban planners, we could have an impact on the transportation sector, right? So therefore, that's something that we need to focus on, and hence the reason for looking at transportation. And I'll just share how greenhouse gas emissions in the US have changed. Between 1990 and 20, so, 1990 and 2024. In the US, transportation used to be 26%. Let's say in 2000 it used to be 26%. In 2020 it's about 27%. Industry used to be 21%, industry is 24%. Commercial and residential used to be 12%, is 13%. And so, in many sectors, the only difference in the US over the US has been in electricity production. Electricity in the US, the share of coal has really come down. In 1990, in my state, 100% of the electricity was coming from coal, no hydro, maybe 1 or 2% from nuclear. So I'd say about 95% were coming from coal and 5% from nuclear. But today, about 85 to 90% of the energy from in my state comes from wind. No coal, all the coal has been shut down, and the nuclear also has been shut down. So most of the energy comes from wind. But agriculture share has increased, industry share has gone up a little bit, transportation share is about the same. So, within the transport sector, as you can see, the largest segment is passenger vehicles. This is globally, okay, not in the US. in the transportation sector, the biggest share of greenhouse gas emissions is from passenger vehicles, and then from goods traffic on the road, and aviation, rail, and shipping account for the rest. Aviation, it's very difficult to come up with alternate sources of fuel for that because it requires very high energy density. Aviation fuel requires very high energy density because you're lifting so much, tons and tons, and putting it up in the air, right? So those engines have very high, they need very high power, and they need lots of calorie for little amount of fuel. Okay, because if they have, if the calorific value of the fuel is not very high, they'll have to carry lots of fuel, right? So they have to have high energy density fuel, and it's very difficult to have, generally you can't have batteries, electric batteries that will provide that fuel for especially long distance flights. Shipping has been a big problem, and starting this year, shipping is cleaning up its greenhouse gas emissions. Shipping has historically used the worst kind of petroleum fuels. Have very high content. So all the stuff from shipping, all the fuels from shipping have sulfur content, and many people are campaigning for shipping to get cleaned up, getting cleaned up. You can see rail contributes rail is very efficient, moves a lot of goods, and the amount of emissions from rail is very in these categories.